To V.F. Putsakovich, Staraya Russa, August 29th, 1878. Much esteemed Victor Feofilovich, I received your letter, for which I am very grateful, 2 weeks ago, and yet I haven't managed to answer it until now, although I wanted to do so every day. Even now, I'll be writing you only a few lines just to assure you of my affection for you and to tell you that I have not failed to think of you now and then. You ask why I haven't written and why you haven't heard anything of me, but to start with, there was no one but you to whom I could write, and I didn't even know until I got your letter where you were. Besides, there is nothing much I can tell you. I'm working on a novel now, but it is very hard going, and I am still only at the beginning of it, and so I am very dissatisfied. The weather has been rather bad here, and I have had 2 attacks. So there you have all my news. Moreover, I won't be in Petersburg for at least another month, i.e. around October. In the first place, it is better for my work for me to be here. In the second place, the air here is excellent, and in the third place, the weather has improved and it looks as if we're going to have a splendid fall. But having said all this, I beg you just the same to write to me at least once from Petersburg when you get this letter, because I am sitting here in complete isolation, struggling along with just the newspapers, of which I am sick and tired. Thank you for sending me the news about Aksakov. I will write him without fail. You write that they never found Mazentsov's assassins and that it was certainly the work of a nihilist gang. How could it be otherwise? That is certainly the case, but what I would like to know is whether our country is going to snap out of its present stagnation and shake free of its old traditional routine. Your story about how you sent to Mazentsov the anonymous letter from the Odessa socialists who had threatened you with death for writing in opposition to socialism is superb in its originality. You had absolutely no reply, and your letter sank into oblivion. And that's that. Incidentally, when will they finally realize how much the Yids, by my own observation, and perhaps the Poles, are behind this nihilist business? There were a bunch of Yids involved in the Kazan Square incident, and then it was Yids in the Odessa incident. Odessa, the city of the Yids, is the center of our militant socialism. In Europe, it's the same situation. The Yids are terribly active in socialism, and I'm not speaking now about the Lassalles and the Karl Marxes. Understandably so, the Yid has everything to gain from every cataclysm and coup d'etat, because it is he himself, status in statu, who constitutes his own community, which is unshakable and only gains from anything that serves to undermine non-Yid society. The articles in our press about the assassination of Mazentsov are the height of stupidity. They sound as if they were written by liberal fathers who disagree with the excesses of their nihilist children because they have gone further than they did. And although they say that people have not been contaminated by socialism yet, none of them recognizes the importance of that fact, and not a single one of them admires the people for it. But on the contrary, they continue to spurn the people, are condescending toward them, and pride themselves in their Europeanism. If I were still putting out the diary, I would do a piece on this subject. I had no idea that Mezhchersky was in Petersburg. If you see him, give him my heartfelt regards. Isn't he writing something? If he is working on a novel, let him write it with care, meticulously, not rush it post-haste. With a talent like his, he shouldn't be allowed to spoil his work with impunity. Is Konstantin Petrovich Pobedonotsev in Petersburg? Please convey my profound respects to him if you see him. And who is this N. Morskoy, whose novel, The Aristocracy of the Arcade, is now being published in New Times? Is it Barenin by any chance? It is an excellent piece, even though it is a caricature. Goodbye then, dear fellow. I shake your hand. Sincerely yours, F. Dostoyevsky. P.S. My wife thanks you for remembering her and sends you her regards. Footnotes. Nikolai Vladimirovich Mazentsov, 1827 to 1878, was the head of the 3rd section. He was stabbed to death on August 4th, 1878, by a young revolutionary whom the police failed to capture. What Dostoyevsky scorns as the Europeanism is, in the reaction of the press, probably refers to the pleas and even the right-wing newspapers for steps toward a constitutional regime. Prince Mezhchersky was working on a novel, The Terrible Woman, a sketch of contemporary high society. which was published soon after this letter was written. N. Morskoy was the pen name not of the critic, journalist, and writer Viktor Petrovich Barenin, 1841 to 1926, as Dostoyevsky suggests, but of Nikolai Konstantinovich Lebedev, 1846 to 1888, whose novels, including The Aristocracy of the Arcade, seemed imitative of Dostoyevsky's in several respects.